It was very surreal, that ceremony of transfer of powers at the Interior Ministry here in Paris, to see indeed this now former Minister of Interior handing his power to the Prime Minister. Obviously, this is just very temporary. It's just indeed to make sure that there will be no vacuum of power in this ministry. That's extremely important. Obviously, it's a ministry that takes care of all police security and, of course, fighting terrorism. But there was politically it was a very important gesture in order to make sure that Gérard Collomb would not be here at the Élysée Palace for the cabinet meeting this morning. Yesterday he gave interviews in newspapers, in one of which he said, if I am still the minister, I will be at the cabinet meeting. If I am not, well, I won't. Obviously, for Emmanuel Macron and executive powers here in France, that was pretty much an unacceptable stance. Now, the question is, who will take that job?
Well, I guess that is an interesting question. I mean, are there any ideas so far who that might be? And in the bigger picture, how big a blow is this now to the president, who's already lost now another key minister just a few weeks after losing his environment minister?
Absolutely. Nicolas Hulot was the most popular minister in the government. Gérard Collomb was a very, very well-known minister by the French people. Indeed, he was very important to Emmanuel Macron. Both men had a habit of having lunch on Mondays. He was considered by many observers as being at least as important as Edouard Philippe, the prime minister in the government, and being a bit of a mentor for Emmanuel Macron. Now, obviously, that means a lot of major ministers have been leaving the boat over the past few weeks, and that obviously is difficult for Emmanuel Macron. Now, the big quagmire now is to find someone who will be able to replace Gérard Collomb. For the moment, there are some names that have been floated, but it's difficult to know who will actually take the job. Place Beauvau, which is the Ministry of the Interior, is just across the street from the Élysée Palace. It is the ministry that has the most information about what happens here at the Élysée Palace, and of course, it has a lot of information about all members of government and everything that happens here in France. So Emmanuel Macron needs to find someone who is very close to him, in which he can have complete trust, and it's obviously difficult to find such a personality within the En Marche party. Emmanuel Macron has placed key members of the party and the people who are closest to him at very powerful positions in France, and if you take one of these people out of their positions, well, that position will be empty and will have to be filled. So it is a very difficult question, who will replace Gérard Collomb, and who can the president trust enough with such a strategic post?